as you could guess from the introduction and from the picture behind me, I play with children. I built an organization that plays with children, and the organization is called KHEL. So what does that have to do with education? I'm often asked, if you had to invest so much time, so much energy and 5 years of your life into something, why this? Why don't you educate children instead? Hopefully by the end of this talk, I would have answered this question for you all. So today I'll be talking about taking education beyond the classroom, and in keeping with the theme of this entire event, reimagining and redefining education itself. Let's start by just taking a moment to think about the kind of images that come to mind if we think of the word education. Something like this, right? This is not a series of images I've put together for this presentation. This is a single screenshot of Google image search. Right now on your phones, if you search for the word education and then click on images, you'll get these pictures. So education we often think about as books, classroom, teacher, blackboard, pen, pencil, chalk, paper, whiteboard, marker, exams, stress, books, studying, tension, passing, failing. Now in a previous TED talk, I had started by asking some very simple class 8 questions. History, geography, science, maths. Nobody could answer it, obviously. We forget everything immediately after we've given the exam. Today I would like to start from the other end of the spectrum. On the screen you can see a couple of images. They're a little bit disturbing. The first image is of a man throwing a dog off the roof of a building. The point to note here is that this guy is a medical student. The second image is of a female monkey that wandered too close to a hostel, was captured by 4 guys, tortured, and that means she was tied up, she was beaten with bells and rods till bones were broken, her jaws were broken. Finally, she was killed by having a rod shoved up her anus. Again, medical students, 4 medical students. I don't have anything against the medical profession, but the reason I'm stressing medical students here is I want you all to think about it a little bit. Medical students means they pass class 5, right? They're already ahead of many children in this country when it comes to education. They pass class 8, the 8th pass. They've passed board exams, class 10 and 12 both with science subjects. They've studied for medical entrance examinations and got through. We're talking about highly educated individuals here. But is this what we want when we talk about education? Some of you may be familiar with this image or these set of images. This is what happened in Bangalore on New Year's Eve, just over a month ago. Supposedly, a large group of men and a large group of women were together, and a lot of women got molested. It's been called mass molestation. Again, do you think these are all uneducated, illiterate villagers on the streets of Bangalore? At least they would be 8th pass, 10th pass. There would be doctors, lawyers, graduates, postgraduates, professionals, MBAs, engineers, right? So where are we going wrong as a society? Is education enough? Our current definition of education, is this enough? And it's not linked only to animal abuse or molestation or rape. Think about anything. Civic sense. We see people spitting on the roads. Are they uneducated? No, they're educated. We see people throwing garbage. Are they uneducated? No, they're very much educated. So where are we going wrong? I prepared a little bit for this talk, so obviously before we talk about redefining, we need to see how it's defined, right? So I searched for the word education. Now Oxford and Cambridge Dictionary both had a very similar thing to what Google image search said. It's about school, classroom, the traditional view of education. Now if I want to reimagine education, the first thing I want you all to do is think about what schooling is and what education is. The problem we do is right now, we equate these two. We think education is schooling. Schooling for most of us, I'm not talking about some very good schools, I'm talking about the majority of schools. For most of us, schooling is teachers throwing information, books giving a lot of information. As students, we receive that information. We retain it for just long enough to be able to write it down. We vomit it out through our hands, and then it's forgotten. 1 year later, you can't answer a single question of something you learned last year. I can ask you all, but unfortunately, I wouldn't have the time. But if you all think for yourselves, if you remember anything from class 6, class 8, LCM, HCF, none of you will remember. And at that time, it was supposed to be very, very important to all of us. So if I were to ask you all to redefine education based on this, if we want something more than just this book knowledge being thrown at our children, we need knowledge, obviously. No one's saying to stop all this schooling. But we also need to add skills. I'm not talking about vocational skills here. I'm talking about social, cognitive, and emotional competencies. Now, a lot of big bodies, UNICEF, UNESCO, WHO, they all talk about these life skills. They say it's crucial for children to learn these life skills, but we don't give any importance to these big bodies. Let's talk about values. Where do we get these values from? Simple things: respect, concern for others, empathy, civic sense, gender sensitivity. Shouldn't all this be part of our education while we are growing up? And isn't it a combination of all these things that lead to our habits and behavior as adults? So the question that arises obviously is, where do we get this education from? The two most obvious places are at home and at school, parents and teachers. Now if you ask parents, they have one very nice pet phrase, aajkal ke bacche. You ask teachers, they have the same pet phrase, aajkal ke bacche. Because both want to blame the other side. Parents are blaming other children, not their own children, other children that their children interact with in school for anything wrong that their child has done. Teachers are more than happy to say, aajkal ke bacche school, ghar pe kuch nahi seekhte hain. They come to us like this. So both sides very nicely wash the hands of the matter. Subject ही पढ़ाएंगे, school भेज देंगे. The other two places we can learn this in school is moral science class and physical education class. But again, both these classes are given on a ranking of how important these classes are, they are right at the bottom. If there's any cost to be covered up, syllabus complete nahi hua, someone has come to donate something, some practice for something, these are the two classes that are always given for all these other things. Let's take a look at what all we can learn outside the classroom, and more specifically on the playground. There's a ton of things that we can teach on the playground which are almost impossible to teach in the classroom. Some of them are on the slide behind me, but there are much more. Something as important as empathy, which around the world leading educationists say is the single most important thing to teach our children, is almost impossible to teach in the classroom. We need to expand our view of what education is to beyond the classroom. Today I'll just be taking up one of these things, gender sensitivity, since it's very relevant to us as a society today. Now when we talk about gender, there's so many terms that keep flying around. Gender roles, gender equity, gender discrimination, gender-based violence. We do so much of this outraging on social media. Mothers teach your sons, men don't do this, then men come back with not all men, and then they get more bashed for saying that not all men thing. Instead of all this, shouldn't we think of better solutions? So we think of stuff like CCTV cameras, we think of stuff like teaching self-defense to women or girls, empowerment. We go out for these dharnas and candlelight vigils. But are any of these preventive in nature? Aren't they all curative, at the most deterrent? Better lighting or CCTV cameras is not going to solve the problem. It's just deterrent. So where do we teach our children to stop all this? Now recently I had a researcher from Columbia University in New York come to me and she said, we are talking to thought leaders and educationists about gender and what we can do in terms of policy recommendations or course curriculum or teacher training. So I told her, I don't think I'm qualified for all these big things, but I just want to ask you a couple of questions and then you can look into it further. So today I'm asking you all the same questions. Across this country of ours, when a teacher says, children line up, why do we stand in lines like this, boys and girls separately? And when we do this and then go into classroom and sit like this, all across this nation, 95, 99% of the schools I can guarantee you are seated like this, co-educational schools. Boys on one side, girls on one side. Girls in the front, boys at the back. Now when we do this, and then we complain later when they grow up about women's only compartment, women's only parking, separate lines for women at ticket counters, aren't we only teaching our children this? Aren't we the ones who are saying stay away from each other? If you come together, there's bound to be something. Now we at Project KHEL, we start everything in a circle. Initially when we start at a location, we say, gole mein lag jao, get into a circle. Obviously, because they're so conditioned to it, there'll be girls on one side, boys on one side. And at the ends of these two lines, you can't see it in this picture, but obviously there's a boy here who's next to a girl, and there's a boy here who's next to a girl. They won't hold hands. There'll be a gap. Even if it's a hold hands, they'll do this, and the girl will do this, but there'll be a gap. Because they've been taught not to do it. They've been conditioned. That is wrong. I'm not talking about big girls and boys. I'm talking about very much pre-puberty, small little kids. They've already been taught that it's wrong. After some time, we finally managed getting them to mix up and stand in a circle. Now, because I come from a background where I work with underprivileged children, you might think all this is only with underprivileged children. This is a couple of photos from a very high-end school in Gurgaon. I'm talking about the kind of school with AC classrooms, AC cafeteria, Costa coffee kind of things in the cafeteria, probably AC buses. Now girls and boys in this playground, they're on the same playground, playing the same sport of football, but separately. One of the best schools of this country. Now, of course, I'm being very, very critical because this picture also has a lot going for it. First of all, girls are playing. Girls of this age, this size, are told, "Ladkiyan khelte nahi hai." First of all, they're playing. Number two, they're playing in front of guys. Number three, they're playing a men's sport of football. Normally, even if girls play in a physical education class, they would be playing badminton or kho-kho, gully sports. They don't play football. So there's a lot going for this picture also. Now this is a picture of a KHEL session which is taking place in a village. It's not even, this is an agricultural field. They don't have a playground. This is what we are able to do. And it doesn't come easy. We have to break stereotypes. We have to break down barriers. We have to take children out of the silos that they have been put in by us and then get them to mix up. But isn't this such a beautiful picture? And how much do you think these girls and boys have learned? They've learned to respect each other. Girls have learned how to say no. And they know that they have a hak, they have a right to say no. Boys know they have to respect that no. They know each other's strengths and weaknesses. Boys and girls know how to talk to each other respectfully. And we've got proof of all this. After they do this on the playground, they go back and gradually they start sharing tiffin, they start sharing notes, they start coming together to complete class assignments. They come together to do projects. And isn't that what education should be about? Now again, I'm just talking about one thing, and that is gender sensitivity. I can talk 20 minutes each on all of these things. So again, let's ask ourselves, is this the education we want? Or do we need to expand the definition? Do we need to reimagine and redefine? Do we need to include something like this in education? Do we need to say, yes, this is education, this is as important? Now they say a picture speaks 1,000 words. So I'm not going to say much about this picture, just that 2 years before this picture were taken, these were the exact same boys and girls who wouldn't hold hands, wouldn't talk to each other, wouldn't interact with each other. And I'll just add one more sentence which many, many girls in this country are told, that girls shouldn't laugh. This is what we are able to do through play. Ladkiyan haste nahi hai. You need someone to challenge that. We do a lot of stuff through play. We are able to do what we call complete education. Now this picture is of Neeraj. When we met Neeraj 4 years ago, he's from a shelter home in Lucknow. He was very much this angry young man kind of figure, very temperamental. He resisted a lot of stuff we do at Project KHEL. So we do a lot of what you can call cutting edge educational stuff at Project KHEL. We have something we call safe spaces. We use peer pressure both positively and negatively because we work in groups. We have no concept of punishment. We are not even allowed to get angry. The only punishment, the topmost level of punishment is something called timeout, which is considered very, very high for this country at least. Now Neeraj resisted all of these because it did not equate with his view of what things should be like. But gradually Neeraj realized that he could see changes in himself and in his peers, and he could attribute that to our Project KHEL sessions. When we put out a call for youth leaders from our program to apply and become youth leaders and help other children to do something, Neeraj applied. He went through the process of getting recruited, and now he works with 1,200 children in Lucknow using the same techniques that he resisted earlier. We're lucky enough to have Neeraj. We were able to get permission for him to fly down here to Bombay. So he's here with us today. I'd like him to share a few words on what he has learned through Project KHEL and the differences between his schooling and the education he received here.
आप सभी को मेरा नमस्कार। मेरा नाम नीरज है और मैं लखनऊ के एक शेल्टर होम में रहता हूँ। मैं स्कूल भी जाता हूँ और कम्युनिटी यूथ लीडर हूँ प्रोजेक्ट खेल में और 1200 बच्चों के साथ काम करता हूँ। अगर हम अपने स्कूल के बारे में सोचें तो हम स्कूल में ना ही मस्ती कर सकते हैं और ना ही बदतमीजी। अगर हम बदतमीजी भी करते हैं तो हमें मार पड़ती है, क्योंकि हमें पता है जब हम अगर मस्ती नहीं कर सकते तो बदतमीजी कैसे करेंगे। लेकिन अगर हम प्रोजेक्ट खेल के देखें तो हम वहाँ मस्ती करना हमें अलाउड है, लेकिन बदतमीजी नहीं है। अगर हम मस्ती करते करते अगर बदतमीजी करने लगते हैं तो दीदी भैया हमें डांटते नहीं हैं ना मारते हैं, बल्कि हमें समझाते हैं कि हमने कहाँ बदतमीजी की। अगर हम अपना विचार रखना चाहें स्कूल में तो सर या मैम कहते हैं कि तुम हमसे बड़े हो गए हो या हमसे ज़्यादा नॉलेज हो गई है। हम यहाँ बड़े हैं, हम जानते हैं कि क्या सही है, जिसकी वजह से हम अपना विचार नहीं रख पाते हैं। अगर विचार रखने भी जाते हैं तो हमें पता होता है अरे यार आगे क्या होगा। तो अगर हम प्रोजेक्ट खेल में अपना बात रखना चाहें, चाहे वो गलत हो या सही, दीदी भैया सुनते हैं। हमें बस इतना ही पता है कि कम से कम दीदी भैया तो सुनते हैं, अपनी बात कुछ भी कहते हैं तो। और हमारी बात अगर गलत होती है तो दीदी भैया हमें बताते हैं कि ये गलत है, ये नहीं करना चाहिए। अगर हमारी बात सही होती है तो हमें सपोर्ट करते हैं, जिसकी वजह से हमें दीदी भैया पे इतना ट्रस्ट हो जाता है कि हम उनसे कॉन्फिडेंटली कोई भी बात शेयर कर लेते हैं। मेरे मायने में, मुझे पता नहीं, लेकिन मेरे मायने में मैं कंप्लीट शिक्षा उसी को मानता हूँ कि अगर हम अपनी बात कॉन्फिडेंटली किसी के सामने रख सकें। और लाइफ में अकेले हर काम नहीं हो सकता है। तो मैंने दूसरी चीज़ सीखी थी टीम वर्क, जिसमें एक दूसरे की हेल्प करते हैं, एक दूसरे की मदद करते हैं और एक दूसरे के साथ चलते हैं, एक दूसरे की प्रॉब्लम सुनते हैं और सॉल्व करते हैं। क्योंकि और हम लोग लड़का लड़की मिक्स होकर खेलते हैं, तो हमें पता होता है कि लड़कियों के साथ कैसे बिहेव करना है, कैसे बात करना है, और उनकी रिस्पेक्ट भी करते हैं। क्योंकि स्कूल में तो हम लोग मैथ साइंस सीखते हैं, क्योंकि अरे इसमें इतना मार्क्स आ जाए मुझे और इसमें इतना आ जाए तो मुझे डिग्री मिल जाएगी। लेकिन इस डिग्री का क्या फ़ायदा जब हम ये सब बेसिकली चीज़ सीखे ही नहीं। और मैं थैंक यू कहना चाहूँगा प्रोजेक्ट खेल को, और थैंक यू कहना चाहता हूँ अक्षय सर को, जो कल मुझे एरोप्लेन से लाए। मैं सिर्फ एरोप्लेन हवा में देखा हूँ, कभी बैठा नहीं हूँ। लाइव में पहली बार समुंदर भी देखा, क्योंकि समुद्र मैंने टीवी में देखा है। और मेरा सपना यही है कि जैसे मैं कम्युनिटी यूथ लीडर होके 1200 बच्चों के साथ काम करता हूँ, मैं चाहता हूँ कि 1200 बच्चों में से कम 1200 बच्चों में से 12 कम्युनिटी यूथ लीडर निकले, और हर एक कम्युनिटी यूथ लीडर 1200 बच्चों को सिखाए। धन्यवाद।
So I'm already out of time. I'll just leave you all with this. This is by Ross Hall from Ashoka. This is what the new age education is supposed to be. This is where we should be moving towards education, and this is what we try to do at Project KHEL. And as an outcome of this talk, I'd like you all to think of what education should be. And gradually as a society, we need to move education out of the classroom. Thank you.